Welcome to the first video in our series of instructional tutorials on the provisions of the 2022 Denver Green Code. The purpose of this series is to support the design community in understanding how to apply the updated code to covered projects, including the new limited mandatory use requirements, provide context on how the provisions of the Denver Green Code are targeted to support the Denver community's climate, resilience, and ecosystem goals and priorities, and to outline the design and high-level submittal content requirements of each provision. The Denver Green Code, commonly referred to by the acronym DGC, addresses both climate change and biodiversity loss through mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. It was first adopted in 2019 as a purely voluntary code, introducing the Denver design community to some less familiar and integrated approaches to building design and construction. The DGC provides guidance for greener buildings through provisions targeting energy efficiency, resource conservation, sustainable materials, indoor environmental quality, water safety, ecologically beneficial site development and land use, and improved building and landscape performance. The Denver Green Code was created to support the Denver community's vision of a bright, thriving, and resilient future, which is represented in the Comprehensive Plan 2040. Taking action both to mitigate climate change and to adapt to impacts of a changing climate is critical to creating this future. The DGC moves beyond conventional design practices and traditional building codes, embodying a mindset shift from minimizing environmental consequences to creating positive, regenerative outcomes for the environment. An integrated design process is encouraged that considers how a project fits into and can create benefits for the broader community, ecosystem, and region. The DGC supports faster advancement of the design principles Denver residents hope to see become standard practice on all buildings. Recognizing that dramatic change takes time, the DGC is designed to advance in step with the design community's capacity to succeed. This will help ensure a smooth transition as more of the code's provisions shift to mandatory regulations in the future. Along with the 2022 Denver Building and Fire Code, the 2022 Denver Green Code was adopted in January 2023. While project teams may choose between the 2019 or 2022 codes during the grace period, only the 2022 Denver Green Code is available after the May 1, 2023 effective date. The most significant change in the updated code is a shift from being fully voluntary to requiring all commercial development, including multifamily residential projects, regardless of project size, to meet some provisions from the code. The limited mandatory use requirements allow project teams the flexibility to choose which of the 116 provisions are the best fit for their building and site. For more information on the requirements of limited mandatory use, watch the second video in this series, What's New in 2022? The Denver Green Code is separate from, but complementary to, Denver's Green Buildings Ordinance, commonly referred to as the GBO. Established in 2018, the GBO accelerates more sustainable development through a menu of strategies. The GBO applies to new buildings, existing buildings submitted for roof permits, and building additions, where each is 25,000 gross square feet or larger. It is designed to layer over mandatory codes and regulations, including the DGC, and covered projects must meet the requirements of both as applicable. Provisions selected to meet DGC limited mandatory use requirements cannot be used to satisfy requirements of the GBO. Enrollment in the DGC's Enhanced Use Program does satisfy all GBO requirements. The provisions of the Denver Green Code apply to all new commercial buildings, their systems and their sites, major renovations as defined in the DGC, and relocated existing buildings and temporary structures where specified in the code. The code provisions do not apply to manufactured or mobile homes, repairs, replacements, or level 1 or 2 alterations, and building projects that do not use electricity, fossil fuels, or water. The new limited mandatory use requirements apply only to commercial projects, including multifamily residential projects. Commercial project teams interested in providing higher benefits and significant leadership for Denver's community may voluntarily enroll in the Denver Green Code Enhanced Use Program, Watch the third video in this series on enhanced use for more information on the requirements and incentives of this program. No part or provision of the 2022 DGC is mandatory for residential projects submitted under the Denver Residential Code. Residential project teams may, however, voluntarily elect to apply provisions of the DGC to their project, both for new buildings and major renovations. DGC applicability for residential projects may also be activated through a voluntary development agreement. Currently, the incentives for the Enhanced Use Program are only available to commercial building projects. For projects subject to the limited mandatory use requirements of the Denver Green Code, submitted construction documents must show how the minimum requirements are being met. The DGC LMU checklist must be completed and submitted, indicating which provisions are selected and how they are being documented. Projects subject to LMU requirements that are submitted without a DGC checklist will be considered incomplete and will not be accepted for review until a checklist is provided. Unlike traditional building code provisions, documentation does not occur only at the permit submittal phase. Depending on the selected provisions, documentation may be required at different phases of the project, from concept through construction, and some post-certificate of occupancy. The additional videos in this series provide guidance on the high-level submittal content and documentation timeline for each individual provision. Projects enrolled in the Enhanced Use Program must also complete an EU-specific DGC checklist and meet all requirements for the selected path. For more information on the specific documentation required, watch the video on the Enhanced Use Program. Checklists for projects subject to the limited mandatory use requirements or projects enrolled in the Enhanced Use Program are available to download at denvergov.org/greencode. Project teams must complete all information in the tan shaded cells to show that the minimum requirements of the Denver Green Code have been met. A screenshot of a portion of a completed LMU checklist is shown here as an example. All selected provisions are indicated, and the drawing or specification number, where submittal requirements are shown, is provided to facilitate review and inspections. The checklist can also be a useful tool during the planning and design process as you select the best provisions for your project. The completed checklist will be submitted within the construction documents on a drawing page stamped and signed by the lead design professional. Since you are watching this video, you are already considering how to set your project up for success. It's never too early to start thinking about which Denver Green Code provisions are best suited to your project. The earlier in the design process you begin considering how to apply it to your project, the more options will be available to meet the requirements. An integrated design approach that engages the broad team with a whole system perspective is also important. Considering the interactions of complex building systems is key to fully optimize and maximize the benefits, both for the project and the broader Denver community. Finally, design teams are encouraged to gain familiarity with all the DGC provisions. The mandatory requirements for commercial projects are very flexible, allowing project teams to choose the provisions that best align with opportunities unique to each property. The Denver Green Code is designed to serve a unique purpose, and to achieve this, it operates differently than traditional building code. It considers projects as a complete system, from the materials and construction of the physical structure, to the efficiency and operation of the systems, and extending beyond the footprint to the ecology and biodiversity of the site. To successfully support the community's vision of a thriving and vibrant Denver, collaboration is key, both internally between the numerous agencies and work groups that oversee the scope of the DGC, as well as externally with the design community through creative and innovative integration of the provisions into your projects. Together, we can create a better and more resilient built environment. To learn more about the Denver Green Code, visit our website at denvergov.org/greencode, where you can watch more videos in the series, as well as register for our virtual office hours, link to the full code, and find additional resources for your project.